Hey guys, it's Ishani. So today we have a very thorough, detailed, in-depth review video for you. I'm sure we all know the brand that has been really popping off lately on social media is E.L.F. Cosmetics. E.L.F. is one of those brands that I think has been regenerated by Gen Z. I'm sure what Gen Z doesn't realize is that E.L.F. started off as a $1 brand. For those of you guys that have been on the makeup market for a while, if you remember 10 plus years ago, E.L.F. Cosmetics was the most affordable makeup brand on the market. They came out with $1 makeup items that were pretty solid. I never tried anything from E.L.F. back then that really knocked my socks off, but for $1, it was a pretty good steal. As the brand has evolved, they've definitely gone through their ups and downs, but I feel like where they have really kind of hit their niche and have really succeeded is in coming out with dupe products. I'm gonna put the word dupe into quotes because we are going to be chatting about a ton of E.L.F. Cosmetics products that are super viral, super popular. All of these are technically dupes for higher end products. I'm gonna break it down for you guys today. We're gonna be completely real, honest, and I'm gonna tell you guys if these products are actually dupes. I have all of the E.L.F. products here with me. I have all of their high-end counterparts here with me. I have tried and tested every single product, and I have a pretty good sense on at least what I think of it. Keep in mind that everything I'm chatting about in today's video is my own opinion, my own experience. This all comes from my own makeup preferences. Everybody's gonna have different preferences, but to kind of give you guys a spoiler alert, most of the products we're gonna be chatting about are not dupes to the high-end alternatives. But what I did not expect to find in this batch of products is that I actually prefer a lot of the E.L.F. products over the high-end counterparts. I did not expect that, you guys. It has been a while since I've tried something from E.L.F. and I'm impressed, you guys. Overall, I'm impressed. Not everything is a hit. Not everything is perfect. Not everything is gonna be staying in my collection. But the products that are good are shockingly good. And the products that are not so good, well, we'll chat about them. Jumping into all of the products, we will start off by, I guess we'll just go in order of how I would apply them onto my skin. First off, let's talk about the new E.L.F. Skin Suntouchable Whoa Glow Broad Spectrum SPF 30. This claims to be a sun protection and makeup primer. Now, just based on the packaging of this, the second I saw that this was announced, I knew this was E.L.F.'s version of the Supergoop Glowscreen sunscreen. The Supergoop sunscreen does have an SPF 40 versus the E.L.F. SPF 30, but you can just see based on the way the packaging looks, the overall branding, the tube, I mean, this was supposed to be a dupe. Price-wise, the E.L.F. sunscreen is $14 and the Supergoop is $38. In both of these tubes, you get about 1.7 ounces of product, so you're getting basically the same amount of product in here. As far as the overall textures of these two sunscreens, they are quite different. The E.L.F. one is thicker, it's more creamier. To me, it reminds me more of like a true face moisturizer versus the Supergoop one is thinner, it's more liquidy. I would say you need less of the Supergoop to spread further just because of the texture of it. In terms of the coloring, the Supergoop one is a much more glowy. I mean, this one is a true, on my skin tone, almost like a highlighter that I'm spreading all over my skin. Because of that reason, I've never been a fan of the Supergoop Glowscreen for me personally. I feel like it just looks too shiny, too glossy by itself. With that being said, the E.L.F. sunscreen is less glowy. It does have a little bit of natural glow, but it doesn't have the straight highlight appearance of the Supergoop, so I prefer it. And honestly, I even prefer the texture. The Supergoop being thinner, it does spread more easily, but it also dries down, and it almost dries down kind of, the best word I can use is almost rubbery. Like it almost makes my skin feel matte and rubbery, and the e.l.f. one doesn't do that. It basically dries down like a face cream, like a moisturizer. It doesn't have any weird texture to it. It also doesn't leave a white cast on my skin, which I was surprised about because when you first apply it, it looks light, but it does blend in really nicely. Neither one of these feels heavy on my skin. Neither one breaks me out. I don't dislike either one, but I definitely prefer the e.l.f. one. Personally, I prefer the texture, I prefer the look, the overall appearance, and it just doesn't weird me out with that weird rubbery texture on my face. Definitely something worth checking out, especially if you're looking for a glowy sunscreen that's not a straight highlighter like this one is. This is actually a really good product. So the e.l.f. Whoa Glow Broad Spectrum SPF 30, to me, not a dupe, but definitely better than the high-end alternative, in my opinion. The next product we're gonna chat about, which would be the next step in my face routine, the e.l.f. Power Grip Makeup Primer. This product, I believe, is supposed to be a pretty clear dupe of the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. I know that gripping primers have become really popular lately. A lot of companies actually have a gripping primer in their collection, but the Milk one, I think, kind of started the trend, started the revolution, and I do believe the e.l.f. is supposed to dupe this. The Milk Makeup Primer is $38 for 1.52 fluid ounces of product versus the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer is $10, but you're only getting 0.81 fluid ounces. That's about half of what you're getting in the Milk Makeup, just a little bit more than half of what you're getting in this one. So price-wise, still a good deal if you're, trying to take that into account. If you guys are not aware, the whole purpose of a gripping primer is to essentially create a thin, slightly sticky barrier on the skin to help allow foundation and concealer and anything you put on top of it to just grip, to adhere. In terms of the overall textures, the e.l.f. one is definitely thinner. It's more runny. It has more of a fluid texture versus the Milk one is definitely more thick. It's more gel-like. As far as actual application, the e.l.f. one does go on pretty thin, pretty lightweight. It does smooth and spread across the skin pretty evenly, and when you give it 30 seconds or so to dry down, it does get a little bit grippy and a little bit tacky. Nothing insane. In comparison to the Milk, I would say the Milk one actually has more grip to it. Even just trying to spread the Milk one across the skin, it's a little bit more grippy upon initial spreading, upon initial application. And then when you give it like 30 seconds to dry down, it gets even grippier. So between the grippiness of these two products, the Milk one is definitely more grippy. The e.l.f. one is okay in terms of grippiness. I would say it's like a 5 out of 10 if the Milk is a 10 out of 10. Do I think these are dupes? No, I think the Milk one is definitely way more grippy than the e.l.f. one. However, if you've tried the Milk one and you think it's a little much, but you like the idea of a gripping primer, maybe the e.l.f. one would serve your purpose. Okay guys, next product we are going to chat about is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer, which I know is supposed to be the dupe of the Tatcha The Silk Canvas. This was one of the original e.l.f. dupes that they came out with. This has been on the market for so long, and I know they've even expanded this Poreless Putty Primer line into blushes and bronzers and a bunch of other products. If you guys are not aware about this product, it is essentially another face primer, but it kind of has a balmy texture to it. It obviously comes in a pot, and the overall consistency is kind of like a thin balm. The idea is that you use a thin layer on the areas of your skin where you have enlarged pores, and this is supposed to help fill in those pores and make your skin overall just look more even and smooth, and it's supposed to help foundation go on even better. I'm sure we all know Tatcha is a very high-end skincare brand, so price-wise there is a large discrepancy. The Tatcha Silk Canvas is $54 for 0.7 ounces of product, and the E.L.F. Poreless Putty Primer is $10 for basically the same amount of product. Full disclosure on these products, I've owned the Tatcha Silk Canvas years ago. I used it back when it originally came out, and I was personally never a fan. I didn't feel like it really filled in the pores in my skin, and I honestly felt like it didn't really do anything for me. And to be honest, I think the E.L.F. is pretty similar. I don't think either one of these fills in my pores. I don't think either one of these smooths my skin texture. I personally feel like both of these create an extra step that's kind of unnecessary for my foundation routine. As far as the actual comparison, I do think the E.L.F. texture is a little thinner. It's not quite as creamy as the Tatcha one. The Tatcha one also has a very distinct floral scent that the E.L.F. one does not have. So if you're sensitive to scents, I actually think the E.L.F. one might work better. It's kind of hard for me to tell if these are true dupes because I don't feel like either one really does anything. Maybe the E.L.F. one is a dupe. Undetermined. The next step of my foundation routine that we have an E.L.F. dupe for is the E.L.F. Camo CC Cream. This product claims to be a color correcting, full coverage, natural finish. It apparently has collagens, peptides, and niacinamide, and a broad spectrum SPF 30 sunscreen. To me, this is supposed to be a pretty clear dupe product to the original IT Cosmetics CC Cream. This is technically the Your Skin But Better CC Plus color correcting full coverage cream and anti-aging hydrating serum with an SPF 50 UVA UVB broad spectrum physical sunscreen. How many of you guys clicked out while I was reading that long ass name? I'm really sorry about that. As far as the texture of these two products, they actually have a very similar texture. They're kind of a thicker, creamy texture. I would say definitely medium to medium full coverage. I wouldn't say it's the most full coverage I've ever seen, but considering these are both considered a CC cream, they do have very impressive coverage to them. I know there's a color discrepancy between these two. I will be honest and say that the E.L.F. one does not match my skin very well. It's definitely a little too peachy or red in undertone, and it's a little too dark, but both of the shades that I bought are called tan. The E.L.F. product blends across the skin very, very nicely. I was really impressed by the overall texture, and the dry down of it is actually surprisingly glowy. It has a really pretty dewy skin look, which I wasn't expecting, especially considering the IT Cosmetics one is actually not dewy like this. The IT Cosmetics one to me has more of a true satin finish dry down. I know IT Cosmetics actually has an illuminating version of their CC cream, which I personally haven't tried, and I'm kind of wondering if the E.L.F. one is more similar to the IT Cosmetics illuminating, just based on the glowiness of the E.L.F. Cosmetics one. This was one product that I was surprised about. I purchased this thinking I would do a head-to-head with the IT Cosmetics, but I really didn't think that I would actually like this product as much as I do. This is a really good CC cream, you guys. I don't even think I told you guys the price difference in this. The IT Cosmetics CC cream is $47 versus the E.L.F. one, which is $15. You get about 1 ounce of product in both of these tubes, so similar amount of product. While the overall look on the skin is different, the E.L.F. one is much more glowy. I found this product to last really well on my skin. It held up for a solid 6 to 8 hours before I felt like I needed to blot my skin. The only thing I didn't like about this is the color match, but that's on me. If I just get a color that matches my skin better, I am very impressed buy this e.l.f. product. But here's the thing, and this is kind of what I want to emphasize in this video. $15 compared to $47 seems like a terrific deal. However, if you're taking out the whole dupe idea, if you're taking out the whole idea of this trying to replicate a high-end product, $15 for an e.l.f. foundation is expensive. That's a pricey drugstore foundation, you guys. Anything to me above $10 to $12 from the drugstore is kind of pricey. So don't get me wrong, this is a good product. However, particularly for e.l.f., particularly for the drugstore, it's kind of pricey. Do I like it? Yes. Do I think it's a dupe for the IT Cosmetics CC Cream? No. Next step in the complexion routine, which of course e.l.f. has a dupe for, we've got the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. This item I think is supposed to be a pretty clear dupe for the Tarte Shape Tape Concealer. More specifically, I got the Hydrating Camo Concealer. They also have a version that is not labeled Hydrating. But to me, the Hydrating is supposed to be a dupe of the Tarte Shape Tape Ultra Creamy Concealer. Here's what the packaging of these two looks like. The Tarte one retails for $31. You get 0.33 fluid ounces of product in here versus the e.l.f. one retails for $7, but you're only getting 0.2 ounces. That's a little bit less than 2/3 of the amount of product that you get in the Tarte. Still a good value in terms of pricing. This product I was kind of surprised about, and not in a good way. I have heard so much hype about the e.l.f. Cosmetics Camo Concealer. I expected to love this. The shade I got is tan neutral. It's the wrong shade for me. It's definitely a couple shades too dark, a little too peachy, so again, that's on me. The texture of it initially going onto the skin seems pretty similar to the Tarte Ultra Creamy. However, to me, the biggest difference is the blendability. I find that the Tarte one is super emollient, super blendable. Just what it says. It is ultra creamy. The e.l.f. one, when I went to blend it, it almost kind of patched up, and it took extra effort to get it nice and cleanly blended, especially with the sponge. It was almost like I would pat the sponge, and then the next place I would pat the sponge, it would just transfer the product from point A to point B, and it wasn't actually blending the product, it was just moving the product and stamping it around. That's not what you want for a concealer, especially when you're working with like the delicate skin under your eyes, or just trying to cover up blemishes and the such. You don't want product to just literally be stamped from one place to the next. So in that sense, the e.l.f. one to me, it didn't impress me at all. In terms of the wear, I found very average wear. It did actually crease on me throughout the day, even when I set it. The Tarte one did not crease on me. I also set it with some powder, but this is one of those things that these are not dupes. Not only are they not dupes, but I actually don't like the e.l.f. option. I'm a big fan of the Tarte Shape Tape. I was a big fan of the original. I'm a big fan of the Ultra Creamy, and I just don't think the e.l.f. one holds up. One of the newest dupe type items that e.l.f. has come out with is their new Halo Glow Beauty Wand. I believe e.l.f. came out with these in a highlighter version, a blush version, and a contour version. The contour version is the one that I'm going to be specifically comparing to the obvious dupe, the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Contour Wand. I bought the e.l.f. one in the shade Tan Deep. They have quite a few shades available in the e.l.f. Contour Wand. I bought the Charlotte Tilbury one in the shade Medium Deep. There are only 2 shades in the Charlotte Tilbury available right now. Of course, the reason these are considered to be dupes are the overall application method. They both have this kind of puff tip applicator. Again, there's a major price discrepancy here. The e.l.f. Contour Beauty Wand is $9 for 0.33 ounces of product versus the Hollywood Contour Wand by Charlotte Tilbury. This item is $42 for 0.4 ounces. So you are getting marginally more product in the Charlotte Tilbury. However, you're paying like 4 times the price. First of all, let's chat about the applicator. Now, the puff style applicator here on both of these products is not an applicator that you use to apply and blend. It's strictly just what you use to apply. So you dot it on and then you're gonna go in and blend with a brush or a sponge. So the fact that it comes in a puff, to me, is negligible. However, one thing I wanna keep in mind is that the Charlotte Tilbury one is cool because it does have a little locking mechanism here. When you twist this top, it goes on, so product can be squeezed out the top like that. But then when you lock it and turn it, product will not come out anymore. That is key for keeping this product clean. The E.L.F product, unfortunately, does not have that. And because it is a squeezy tube, if you throw this into a makeup bag, if it happens to go under pressure or it happens to fall under something that's heavy and this tube squeezes, you're about to have a mess. That just is what it is. In terms of the coloring, the E.L.F one is a little bit more cool toned, while the Charlotte Tilbury one is a little bit more warm toned, almost more of a contour bronzer type look. The E.L.F one blends out beautifully. I use my beauty blender sponge to blend it, and oh my goodness, it blends like a dream. I was so surprised by the texture, especially given that I'm not crazy about the Charlotte Tilbury one. The formula of the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand is a little bit more creamy maybe. It has a little bit more emollients to it. So because of that, I personally feel like it's a little bit more difficult to blend. The E.L.F one has the same amount of pigment, but it's not quite as dewy on the skin. So when I go in with my sponge to blend it, it just blends perfectly. There's still a beautiful amount of pigment on the skin. You can definitely see it, but it's not overwhelming or anything. You know, it's just a beautiful contour. And color-wise, it is a little bit more cool toned. So if you prefer more cool toned contours on you, the E.L.F one is really, really great. This is one of those comparisons in the video that I think you could maybe consider a dupe. The Charlotte Tilbury one is just a little bit more creamy, a little bit more hydrating. The color is slightly different, but overall, I mean, the E.L.F Beauty Wand, fantastic. Really amazing product. And for the price difference, I couldn't recommend this anymore. Next up, let's chat about the E.L.F Halo Glow Liquid Filter. This product, again, clear Charlotte Tilbury dupe. This is supposed to dupe the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I purchased both of these in their shade number 5. E.L.F claims this is a medium/tan, and Charlotte Tilbury says this is a tan. You get about 1 ounce of product in both of these glass bottles, which is really nice. The Charlotte Tilbury one retails for $49 versus the E.L.F one, which retails for $14. They both come with that oversized doe foot applicator, and the way you use this product is kind of up to the individual makeup user, you know? I know some people who swear by this. They have to use it underneath their foundation to give the overall look of their complexion a nice glowy finish. You can also use it over your foundation and concealer, just on the high points of your face, again, if you want to add extra glow. This is basically a product that's a very, very light coverage, glowy foundation. That's what I would best describe it as. It's like a super, super light coverage foundation mixed with a liquid illuminator. As far as the 2 shades, again, the E.L.F one is a little too dark. I don't know what was up with me when I placed this order, but I really veered on the dark side. The difference between these two, in my opinion, is that the E.L.F one feels more like a lightweight foundation versus the Charlotte Tilbury one feels more like a liquid illuminator. The Charlotte Tilbury one is glowier. It has more of those glowy specks in it. The E.L.F one, texture-wise, seems to be a little creamier and a little more moisturizing maybe, but it doesn't have as much of the actual reflectivity in it. So So while the end result of both of these is a dewy look on the skin, you're getting them because of two different reasons. The E.L.F. one, just the overall texture, it's more emollient, it's more dewy of a formula, but the Charlotte Tilbury one actually has more sparkly bits in it. Personally, I think if you're looking for more glow, the Charlotte Tilbury one is going to be better off. But if you're looking for something to work more as a very, very light coverage, tinted moisturizer with a glowy finish, the E.L.F. one would probably work better for that. More coverage, more glow, less glow. The price difference is nice, but to me, these are two completely different looks. They don't dupe each other at all, in my opinion. Just a couple more products left, you guys, I promise. I know this video has been super long and super rambly, but the next product we are gonna chat about is the E.L.F. Glossy Lip Stain. This, to me, immediately caught my eye because it looks very, very similar to the YSL. This is called their Vinyl Cream Lip Stain, and you can see, I mean, they look similar. Look at the little window on the back, the overall color of the packaging. I mean, it's just a similar look. The YSL lip stain retails for $45 for 0.18 ounces of product versus the E.L.F. Glossy lip stain is $6 for 0.1 fluid ounces. So you get almost double the amount of product in the YSL, but again, humongous price discrepancy there. I tried to get two shades that were kind of similar to each other. The E.L.F. one is called Spicy Sienna, and the YSL one is in the number 401. We're not going to be comparing the actual colors because I don't think the color match is really important with this. It's more so the formula. This formula is very, very clearly not a dupe. The YSL Vinyl Cream Lip Stain is more of a opaque, creamy, glossy lip lacquer vibe. It stains the lips a lot less than the E.L.F. one. The E.L.F. Glossy Lip Stain almost applies more of like a semi-transparent, kind of jello-like lip stain. And the E.L.F. one actually has good staining power. Like, it really does stain the lips. It doesn't stay glossy for a really long time, but it also doesn't bleed. It doesn't feather. You don't have to use it with a lip pencil. Whereas the YSL one, just because of the sheer amount of pigment it has in it, I do find this one bleeds and feathers if you don't use it with a lip liner. These are two completely different formulas. I wouldn't even say these are in the same realm of lip product. One thing I do want to make clear though is YSL used to have a lip product that they called their Glossy Lip Stain, which is the exact name of the E.L.F. lip product. And from what I remember, that product is not on the market anymore, and I have decluttered all of the ones I used to have in my collection. But from my memory, I do think the E.L.F. one is pretty reminiscent of the original YSL Glossy Lip Stain. It came in very similar packaging to this, except the top was gold. I used to love that formula. That formula was a thinner, kind of semi-sheer formula, more glossy, definitely more lip staining. It didn't bleed or feather. It had a really long lasting power, particularly because of the staining effect of it. So from my memory, I do think the E.L.F. lip product is reminiscent of the original YSL Glossy Lip Stain, but because that product's not on the market anymore and it has been a few years since I've personally used the formula, it's hard for me to say that it is definitely a dupe, but I would say it is much closer of a dupe to the YSL Glossy Lip Stain formula that is now discontinued than it is to this product. And the final step at the end of the night, the last product we're going to be chatting about today, the E.L.F. Skin Holy Hydration Makeup Melting Cleansing Balm. This product claims to have hyaluronic acid, ceramides, and peptides in it, none of which I think is very important because this is just a makeup remover. This I wanted to compare to my all-time favorite makeup cleansing balm, which is the Farmacy Green Clean Makeup Cleansing Balm. I have the Farmacy Green Clean here in their kind of travel size version. This This travel size is $24 for 1.7 fluid ounces of product versus the E.L.F. product is $11 for 2 ounces of product. So again, price-wise, value-wise, the E.L.F. is a really, really good deal. The reason I really wanted to put these two head-to-head is because I have been a lover, an avid user, a die-hard fan of the Farmacy Green Clean. This is such a good product, but it is really pricey, and at the end of the day, it's just a makeup remover. So if you can get something that is cheaper, that does essentially the same thing, which is again, remove your makeup, why wouldn't you? If you've never used a cleansing balm before, you take a little dime size amount, scoop it onto your fingers, rub it into your hands until it kind of turns into an oil, and then you massage it onto your skin with a full face of makeup. Don't use any water or anything like that. These products work best on dry skin. The cleansing balms will essentially just melt your makeup off. They will melt off waterproof mascara, long wearing foundation, super long wearing lip product. All of that will come off with a cleansing balm. The main difference to me between these two is the fact that when I rinse off the E.L.F. cleansing balm, it does leave a little bit of a film on the skin. There's a little bit of like a slippy, oily feeling still remaining. Once I go in with my face wash, that kind of filmy feeling rinses away. The Farmacy one never leaves my skin with that film on it, so I guess technically I wouldn't have to follow up with an actual face wash with the Farmacy one. I still like to, just to make sure my skin is super clean and my pores are just nice and cleared out. But if you're someone who's looking for a one and done, like you don't want to follow up with a face wash, then I would personally still recommend the Farmacy one because it doesn't leave your skin with any type of film. But if you're someone who's like me, who does a double cleanse anyways, I actually find the E.L.F. one is really, really good, especially because we're talking about makeup removers. We're not talking about something that's really sitting on the skin or is really gonna be a long-term skincare solution. It's just a means to an end. It's just a way to get the makeup off your skin, and I personally do think these both do a really great job, an equally good job. Are they a dupe? Maybe to an extent with those few differences that I pointed out, but on the whole, personally, I think they're interchangeable. So I think what we can take from this video is that while E.L.F. has definitely come out with some products that are clearly marketed as high-end dupes, more than likely, they're not actually duping the product. There are definitely differences in the formulas, in the textures, in the packaging, in the overall application, in the longevity. I mean, most of these products weren't dupes. However, there were a lot of really, really good E.L.F. products here. Really good products that perform really beautifully, especially for the price. They're not cheap products, in my opinion, and in my head and in my memory, I've always thought E.L.F. to be very, very affordable. I wouldn't say any of these products were very, very affordable, but they were definitely more affordable than the high-end ones I talked about. But you know what? Overall, a good product is a good product. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to make assumptions based on price tags of products. I think we could see as I went through this video, there were a lot of E.L.F. products that I preferred over the high-end counterparts. So while they might not be exact dupes, I actually think they're better. Who would have thought? That is not the way I thought this video was gonna go. If you guys have tried any of these products for yourself, please leave me your guys' experiences in the comments below. Also, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it. This was a really big project, a really big undertaking, and any engagement you guys can give with this video would be super, super helpful. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for being here, and I will talk to you in my next video very soon. I'll see you then. Bye.